breaking news. As it turns out, the $4 trillion in debt we're about to increase as a nation here in America actually isn't because your neighbor's kid gets free nuggets at lunchtime. And also, strangely enough, it turns out it's actually not the fault of the disabled veteran who needed telehealth appointments to stay on track with their doctor. And I don't think, and quote me if I'm wrong, by all means, but I don't think cutting the seasonal wildland firefighter that works for the National Forest Service, who already sleeps on the ground and eats MREs for multiple days in a row, I'm pretty sure trimming their jobs is not going to get us out of debt. No, because I looked to see, just to make sure, if we trimmed all of those things, the food assistance programs, Medicaid, public services, education, if we trim those things and save the projected, albeit rounded number of $2.5 trillion, in that same breath, in that same document, it also tells you we're going to add another $4 trillion to the debt. But what in God's name would cost us $4 trillion more dollars? I'll tell you. Corporate and billionaire tax cuts. See, weirdly enough, in order to make those tax cuts for all the uber rich and giant corporations, it's actually going to cost the American people to subsidize that, to make that happen. Now lean in a little bit closer or put the subtitles on, because I don't want you to mishear me with what I'm about to say. There have been many times where I have wanted to scream at the top of my fucking lungs, pissed off about the amount of taxes we pay and the minimum amount of public services we get in return. But a large majority of our population doesn't even really understand where taxes actually come from. If you tell most people you're just not taking taxes out of their paycheck, that's actually enough to convince them they're paying less taxes, even though they'll come out of other places. So believe me when I tell you it's very easy to convince most of the American public that you're saving them money, even when you're doing the opposite. So the estimated 2 cups of coffee that you've saved me so far by cutting public employees, by cutting public services, by cutting education, by cutting fucking food, I would have happily walked out on the longest, craziest, most fragile limb to tell you you can keep that money. If we can keep those public services, right? You would not have to look far at all to find me a corrupt and vile Democrat. And I've never heard a reasonable human being say otherwise. But if your response for the absolute shortcoming shit show mess that is currently taking place, if your response to that is to point the finger at a bad Democrat that you can come up with off the top of your head, you're fighting ghosts. You are swinging haymakers at the wind. Licking the boots of people who have never had to lace up a pair is absolutely asinine. I'll never be able to understand the why behind that. Blaming public services for the debt that we're in is like cutting off your foot because you have a hangnail. It's like blaming a hurricane on your neighbor sneezing. Many people don't understand the magnitude of privatizing public land. You're not giving, listen to me close here, you're not giving the United States of America more resources by selling public land. You do understand how that works, right? If they find minerals on it, if they find oil on it, if they drill, baby drill, if they cut a bunch of timber off of public land, you're not giving those resources to the United States of America. You're giving those resources to corporations who will turn around and then sell it back to you. You already fucking owned it. If an administration is willing to privatize its own commodity of public land to wipe out its debt ceiling, it's not becoming empowered. It's not becoming more powerful. It's becoming a corporation. Do you understand the difference there? We're all getting cheated on. We all are. It's just that some of us apparently still believe that the other girl is just a friend. Getting clowned, dude. That's what's happening. You're getting clowned.